Hello, Polytopians. Welcome to the stream. How are you doing today? As always, we have a great, amazing meeting with Polytopia. This time we'll be reviewing AI MO Polysseum clashes. My name is Adam, aka MidgetTube or Gato Azul on Polychamps. We have brilliant guests, as always, polytubers and great friends of all the tribes on the square, CLOUDGLIDDER and TOLBBY. Welcome to the stream, guys. TOLBBY, you have to unmute yourself. Sorry. Yeah.
All right, off to a great start. How's it going?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing just fine. I just finished my own stream up, so I'll be getting caught up with everything. But I'm looking forward to discussing the AI MO Polysseum.
How are you, Cloud?
Good. Yeah, I'm looking forward to talking about these games as well.
Yeah, so people are tuning in. Great. Welcome everyone. Yeah, so we'll be doing AI MO and TOLBBY today. So before we start, let's talk about those two first. So yeah, so tell us maybe, share about their characteristics, strategies, some strong and weak points. What can you tell us about AI MO and TOLBBY?
So AI MO, that's a tribe known for mindbenders, basically. They start with the meditation tech, so they don't really attack until after turn 5 to get that Altar of Peace monument. And depending on spawn and map size, it's very likely that they go into philosophy to kind of prepare for a strong late game. But in doing so, they sometimes sacrifice like a little bit of early game initiative or options. But most of the time it pays off as long as you don't run to your opponent like super early. So it allows for a lot of interesting gameplay with either like mindbenders or the ability to just like buy like every single tech you could possibly want.
TOLBBY.
Yeah, pretty much the same kind of view. They are fascinating because they're one of the few base tribes that actually have a unique opener with the option of philosophy, as CLOUDGLIDDER had mentioned. And if you're playing against a tribe that's want to be more passive, you get to take full advantage of saying, hey, if this game goes on too long, I'm going to have the advantage in the late game. So honestly, I find AI MO a lot of fun. And heck, even on the last week's live stream I played, I had a lot of success playing with them.
And weak points. So if you're playing against them, what would you recommend? What you should do to beat them?
So I'll for trying to take advantage of an AI MO player, if they don't get the proper scouting or they make a wrong judgment call and pick up an early philosophy, an early aggression is going to go a very long way. AI MO doesn't get to start catching up until around turn 5 when they pick up the Altar of Peace, meaning if they want a free 3 population, they're going to have to not attack one of your units. And you could put them in a bad position by doing so, by positioning your unit saying, hey, if you don't attack my units, I'm going to siege one of your early cities and force them to lose a free 3 stars or 3 population on any of one of their cities. And after that, they have to play a very hard game of catch up.
Are they maybe stronger on some kind of maps, like, lakes or continents? Cloud, what's your opinion? What is the best environment for AI MO?
I feel like just maps where it will go to late game, or maps where you can't really punish them for greeting too much in the early game, just because they do have philosophy, they do have that turn 5 Altar of Peace thing. As long as they're allowed to, kind of like expand or save up their stars and not be punished for like preparing for late game, the maps will generally favor them a little bit more, depending on, of course, it depends on like what your opponent is playing. But for like lakes, as long as there's like water between you guys and you have like enough room to kind of build up, it'll be great. For continents, most of the time you spawn on different land masses when you're not connected, so you kind of have time to go philosophy to read up and prepare for the late. So maps that allow you to just really be on your own and read and prepare, those are the best times.
Okie doke. So which of the two is your favorite, IMO or TOLBBY? The Iron Fist people.
I gotta say, I love the Iron Fist people. They look so cool. I like the texture of the land. Oh no, that was the one that has no texture. But I really like the hats, the concept. It's pretty cool.
TOLBBY?
I'm also in full agreement that TOLBBY is my preferred. They sound very much like my name. I've also participated in martial arts. There is a connection. I may be biased. I also have martial arts, so I can relate to martial arts experience. So I can relate to TOLBBY as well with that. They also just look cool. And their koalas are cool. Their hats are cool. Just what's not to like about them? Their music's a lot more soothing, I find, than IMO's. Just in every regards, I find them totally awesome.
Yeah, and I also like the bamboo forests. It's pretty amazing. So yeah, so we are in agreement. Yeah, and in the meantime, I set up a poll in the chat. So go ahead and tell us which do you like more, the classic IMO or the Iron Fist TOLBBY? And by the way, I forgot, because TOLBBY and Cloud are YouTubers, like I mentioned. Go ahead and subscribe to their channels. The links are in the description. They will very much appreciate your support in their YouTube activities. Yeah. Okie doke. So I think we can start watching the games. So yeah. So let's switch the view, and yeah. So one of you has to add your Polytopia, and then we'll move to the games.
I think we forgot to discuss that. Cloud, do you want to handle the camera duty? I currently have Polytopia open. I'll just need to.
I don't mind. You could stream or I could stream. I'm okay either way.
I've never done the streaming stuff before, so hold on, give me a moment.
Sure.
See.
Okay.
Yeah, you are a newbie. Yeah.
Where is it? That is.
I'll set up TOLBBY music then.
Application window. There we go. Boom. That should do.
Yep.
Fantastic.
Yep. So first, let's say who we're playing, and then let's spawn as usual.
Do I have the right game open? I have Anva versus Vorce. Is this the correct first game?
Yeah, I think so.
Fantastic. We're just going down this list.
Yes.
Oh boy. All right, looks good to me. All right, so if we just move this forward just one little bit. Fascinating. We got one with water, one without.
The resources are pretty nice. Both of them can go into org or hunting. So they have either org or hunting in the city too. That could be a very nice opening.
So since we have a lot to go on,
I just want to confirm if it isn't the game that has the video above it, because it's the list is divided into. Wait, let me check.
Hold on,
this is the top one. It says video above it, and it says one.
Okay. Get rid of that one?
So we are not doing this one. So first one is Ratz against...
Ratz versus Only Dubs.
Yeah,
my bad. All right.
Yeah, we don't want to spoil the recording for this month. So, yeah.
Okay.
All right, we are now on the same page. We're going to click this, get this open on up. Trying this again, this time with more feeling. Alrighty. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Polysseum highlights. Ignore that last bit.
Yeah, we'll cut it out.
we'll cut it out of the live stream. We'll do it live. Alrighty, so I guess we'll just do an initial analysis. And since apparently all these games were mentioned, they go on pretty long. Once we start playing, unless we really need to pause, I'm just going to let the game keep moving on forward. So that way we can try to get through these in a good time.
Yep.
Else, I don't know how many turns this game was, but if they're going to be like 30, 35 turns, this could take like 30 minutes already. So I may have to skip forward anyways. So, Cloud, what's your initial thoughts on the spawn between the two?
Yeah, so I definitely feel like our host IMO here has a bit of an advantage with parallel resources. I am a bit surprised that the other IMO did not go for philosophy opening, it seems. But yeah, these players spawned very, very close to each other, so I am expecting to see some early game scuffles here.
I could definitely agree on that. I'm usually bad about picking up early climbing for an advantage, but this looks like a good situation where climbing could definitely give one player not only more vision, but also that combat advantage to make favorable trades, especially in that early game. Taking a look over here. Turn 6 Giant by Ratz, the original Player 1 player. If you had to favor naval superiority versus early giants, which one would you be preferring to have yourself in, especially in this kind of game?
Normally, I would say naval superiority, but it seems like because of how connected they are by land, the early giant is actually going to be very threatening. It might not get there in time since it's going to be like 3 more turns before it'll arrive anywhere meaningful. So if Dubs can get a giant up in time, maybe he can deal with it without having to worry too much. And it seems like he does. He gets his turn 8 giants. And he gets this interesting border growth in capital. There's a lot of water here in his capital, and I would have expected him to take like pop growth or something. Interesting. I'm interested to see what his plan is with all this water in capital.
Oh, absolutely on that bit. So yellow definitely seems to have some form of naval superiority, and it's the bridge.
Yeah. I was wondering what is he doing with this giant? Like, you know, instead of pressuring his opponent, he went, you know, somewhere.
It's a city snipe. A high level city, so that siege is quite punishing. Oh, and now we see why Dubs went for the border growth. He's going to kind of sneak these giants, or sneak his giant around on the water to attack his opponent so he doesn't have to go climbing. Very smart idea.
That is pretty smart. Also, every single one of these, of course, is pretty much by a coast, so this could be the most expensive secondary giant out of the capital if needed be. That is a total of... That is 42 stars right there. Oh, never mind. You got a population from the ruins.
Nice, yeah.
And another early giant siege. Is there going to be enough in order to unsiege this? Maybe a giant pop?
Doesn't look like it without a giant pop.
No, they are cutting the forest. So
yeah,
no.
We do see that Ratz has like completely out-expanded Dubs at this point. But keep in mind, this is a game of might. So as long as Dubs can somehow take the capital here, the game will end. It doesn't matter how many other city Ratz has. So Ratz will have to play careful here. He does get the siege back though with a veteran swordsman. We'll see if that holds.
Archery, especially in this river kind of format, you don't see a lot of deep ocean, which I would almost classify this as like a very fancy river map. Archers do always hold some strong format advantage because scouts minimum 7 stars just in order to have a ranged unit for that attack, but archers going on with 3, and if they can attack everything over here, that is just a favorable trade-off for the archers every single time.
Yeah, the archers really putting in work, getting all these positive trades, and just hurting Dub's eco and army.
Oh my goodness, that explorer gives him the Eye of God! Finding the last of the lighthouses. So now we're on a currently 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 city to 4, but one of which was the Teals or the Science. Oh man, the early bomber. That's gonna apply so much pressure.
And that is in a pretty safe location, so Ratz is gonna have to be careful playing around it. If Dubs can set up bombers around his capital, he can push in very threateningly.
We also see the Eye of God being used on C. Lipo right here in the northeastern side of the map, allowing him to get a giant over there, but that giant is so far away from all the action. Sure, it'll be able to help protect the city, but we got bomber number 1, bomber number 2, and giant ready to make work and trying to siege the capital city of TOLBBY. Another bridge!
The bombers are being chipped away at, though. Ratz getting every opportunity he can to kind of prevent the bombers from becoming too established and too threatening.
That there's correct. Again, with that river kind of map, archers are going to be able to put in their work. Archers with roads do outrange the bombers, but it's going to come down to, I mean, you can see the bar all the way here at the top. The game's not over yet, but there is currently a siege going on for the capital city of TOLBBY. Meanwhile, looks like Paulo is retreating his units just a little bit, trying to establish his borders. But 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 cities to 4. So much production potential from Ratz.
Yeah, that bomber snipe as well as the bounce into the city, that's gotta hurt.
I actually really like what's going on over here. The constant siege with just a warrior on these central cities, it's cutting off at least 3 stars worth of production. Also having to make it to where Teal has to invest in defending the central city rather than being aggressive and putting the player with the less production on the defense. Oh, and there they go. Veteran, but hold on. Veteran
rider. That's gotta have been lots of planning ahead of time, since scouts cannot be promoted to veterans. So that rider had to have been a veteran before it was even put into the scout.
Look at that. You can't even tell how many kills that unit has, but if we bring it forward one step at a time, that's kill number 1, getting rammer, and veteran boost. Oh my goodness. And because of this mountain here, this warrior can't road on forward. I think the siege is going to hold.
Yeah, I don't see an easy way to unsiege unless it has some monument saved up or something. A giant pop is the only thing that can save him.
Yeah, there's not going to be any form of Grand Bazaar. Looks like Yellow is going to be trying to go all in on a potential siege on the capital, going with 3 bombers. But as mentioned before,
2. 1.
Not anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah, Ratz's archers are really putting in work here, getting him all these positive trades, taking out these bombers. Oh, and he lands 2 giants. Takes his first city, and it seems like that other city is going to be difficult for him to unsiege too. But if this siege holds, it does not matter. None of that will matter.
But all he needs is 1 pop just by connecting a city.
And he just captures that city, gets that
damn.
That's the giant.
Fine. That's so amazing.
That was almost a capital snipe right there. My goodness. Yeah. If he was able to get that siege to land and hold, Yellow could have won that game right there.
Yeah, it looks like Yellow focused on a threatening capital attack. It almost seemed like he was going to pull it off a couple times, but every single time Ratz had a backup plan. He could either pop a giant, pull off the unsiege, kept his cool, and he played the long game, took care of expansion, came back around, took more cities, and kept his capital well defended at all times to win the game.
Just look at that right over there. 3 bombers ready to solidify a siege. But again, archers with roads on a river-style map like this, putting in their work and making it to where yellow barely doesn't have enough resources in order to secure this game. Yep. That was beautiful. Look at that back and forth.
Yeah, we have one of the players with us, I think. So after the first 2 attempts not working, probably should have backed off.
Well, after the first 2 attempts, I feel like he was kind of in a spot where he didn't have much other options. After the first 2 attempts, his expansion was completely stunted.
Mm-hmm.
He did not have much other, opportunity to win the match. So I think that going in was, although like it did look very difficult to try to secure it, I think going in was one of he was like kind of forced into it, and it was his best chance to turn things around.
Alrighty, that concludes our first game. That went from yellow having absolute potential naval superiority, being able to collect all these, and a early bridge right over there to rush the giant over here, cuts yellow off from the entire rest of the map, making it from yellow's advantage to cyan's. What a beautiful game 1.
Yeah, I feel like we normally don't see bridges with giants. Like, I feel like normally you're expanding with like riders, warriors, maybe swordsmen if like you're Wenger or something. But expanding with a giant on a bridge, that is interesting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Alrighty. Well, with that,
let's move along.
Let's move on to the next game. Alrighty, we're gonna go to the video. No, we're gonna go to Faust versus the real Mandalorian.
Second attempt, Toby.
Now, Faust is a really good player here. I feel like he hasn't been playing a lot of Polyseum, and he did kind of take a break from Polytopia for a while on the server.
Mm-hmm.
But I gotta say, among all the people I've played 1v1, Faust has got to be one of the best. He's like one of the only players that I still play 1v1s with, and it just makes me feel like I'm a Nova again and I haven't learned a lot of mechanics. He's just a really great player.
Okay, like a Jedi Master.
Yeah, I think Faust is one of the ones that made me go, man, I've got so much to learn, because I participated in a tournament, 3 years ago, and even though the game, I felt like it was close, but re-reviewing that game way later, yeah, no, it was not close at all. But but I also made one misplay, and that was due to time. That was before live games were a thing, so that's when we were having to go, by the way, you're out of time, so please end your turn. Man, such a long time ago. Glad to see Faust is getting back into it, though. All right, so
who's your opponent?
So we are going to be having Joyful Sausage as Cyan and the real Mandalorian as Blue. So Faust is going to be the original Cyan.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Before clicking play, just a quick thought right over here. Again, this is, I believe all these games are always going to be on lakes. So even though there's water here, there's actually no water access right over here in the north. So both players are going to have to find a way to get onto the water by a second form of means.
We also see a lot of mountains in both players' spawn. Climbing or mining into Smithery could be a very strong tech path. Let's see how it progresses.
Absolutely. With that, we're going to go ahead and click play and let the chaos commence. One fast little fact that many people may not know about is on lakes, you are guaranteed 2 adjacent villages. So just for a quick tutorial for all those, right over here, we have Blue with their 1 and 2 villages adjacent to the capital, and Cyan, we have 1 and 2 adjacent to their capital there. That's not available on all map types, but you do have it on lakes. So one thing to help you in your future games, there you go. Not everybody knew that.
Cyan finds a ruin here, and it looks like Cyan goes into philosophy, whereas their opponent goes into hunting.
That does look like a very early difference between the two players. Let's see if I can move this over here.
Ooh, a Star Ruin will let him pay off his philosophy cost really quick, though. And with the Lighthouse, you get a free cap upgrade. He has not gotten a single resource in capital yet.
That's going to be a pretty fast giant. All he's going to need is at least 3 techs. But with philosophy, that's going to be made so much cheaper. Ooh, IMO has met IMO. Fascinating.
Ooh.
Oh, and the mountains cut off the potential finding of that lighthouse.
Yeah.
As a reminder, IMO does have a high mountain spawn rate, so that is going to be something you're going to find you're encountering a lot in all your games.
Faust going ahead for this early clear of the village, and it does not look like their opponent can knock him back off.
Which means right over there, Cyan, who's Faust, who's playing as Cyan. Oh, with a really good explorer, is going to be finding everything, and if lucky, is going to be doesn't get the
Even
correct
a
lighthouse.
Yeah.
He does get the one in the east, though, but the northern one eludes him. And unless he could go ahead and pick up this village in the western corner of the map, looks like the Eye of God is going to be just out of grasp.
But at this point, it looks really, really grim for his opponent. It's like...
You would think so, but oddly enough, they're currently both equal on villages. And even if Faust playing as Cyan picks up the village in the east, the real Mandalorian playing as Blue is going to be able to pick up this village. And they're both going to be 5-5.
Okay.
That being said, they both have equal access to both sides of the water, 1 village each. But this central village here is under a lot of pressure. Oh, never mind. There is an early siege with a well-placed rider. That is going to apply so much pressure to... I need to click away from that. It's going to apply so much pressure to Blue. Definitely going to be slowing down his early game.
Yeah, we see 2 very different tech paths here. One of them going into smithery, while the other goes into math and catapults here.
Cyan going straight into those swordsmen, as mentioned, whereas Blue being able to pick...
That's still Cyan.
That's still Cyan. There we go. Look at that. Not even a single bit, not even climbing, but has mathematics. Those catapults...
Oh, it looks like they've both picked up philosophy now.
Mm-hmm.
So with that tech in hand, they can be a lot more flexible with what techs they want to buy in the future. Here we do see Cyan building a kind of an early advantage in terms of units and sieges, so playing very aggressively.
Not only are those early sieges going to help apply pressure, but it's also going to slow down Blue's rate of his economy. Because right now we're looking at 23 stars to 16, meaning Cyan's got an absolute advantage. And until those catapults start coming out, these swordsmen are going to absolutely start tearing apart all of Blue's forces.
Yeah, and catapults are expensive units, so you don't want to have to be going them. And he opts for archery instead.
Yeah, he went archery.
Cheaper, more flexible, but it's going to be a little bit weaker. So it's not going to have as much staying power, but might be the correct choice in at least in this early game.
Finally picks up climbing as well. He starts chipping away. How do we see the first catapult?
There's the first catapult. About to see this city go, this game go 5 cities to 5 cities, but Cyan is not letting off the pressure. Every single time this siege happens, that is making it to where this 2-cost warrior is preventing 2 stars. Not only that, but the opponent's having to invest resources to get rid of that warrior. So it's actually just nothing but an advantage for Cyan constantly applying those sieges.
Oh, and now we see
chivalry.
Chivalry come out. A lot of times people say Polytopia is a little bit like rock, paper, scissors, with the rock being swordsmen, just very tanky units doing high damage. The scissors being knights, just being able to cut through your army, chain through everything.
Mm.
And I guess catapults are, I guess you would have to say they're the paper in this scenario, but I feel like they're probably also...
I mean, they are made out of wood.
Not the best example,
yeah.
But Yeah.
3 chain, 4 chain, 5, 6, 7. Bop-a-da-bop. A 7
a
nut
cutting
chain,
through the
night chain.
entire army. Well played by Faust, hiding his knight all the way in the back and killing through a giant. His opponent probably wasn't expecting the giant to go down that quickly, that easily, which left a massive chain. But they're not giving up. They're pumping out another giant and solidifying their forces once again, training more units.
I was expecting a backup knight to try to continue applying more pressure, but that's probably the difference between our skill levels. Faust, playing as Cyan, opts to actually go with more mass units to try to press the advantage with swordsmen, because if more archers and catapults keep popping up, just one more knight's all he's going to need in order to clean all that up.
There is another knight waiting.
Oh, there it is. It's a
Turns
turn later.
Knight this turn. Yep. Goes ahead and kills another giant. And he keeps throwing units onto that mountain to kind of just be a little bit annoying.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like there was maybe almost a hint of a Houdini here, but without riders, without the ability to kind of bounce units around, it's just too difficult.
That's completely true. Without riders, how are you going to be able to bounce back?
And we see the first cloak coming out from Faust. We're really seeing like every single branch of the tech tree this game.
One of the big benefits of philosophy is you're able to reach all those techs a lot more frequently than in a normal game.
So do you think they will like go around or through the sea?
With that giant right there and the splash potential being so threatening, I don't think he has a choice but to kind of go through that upper land and kind of snipe through the mountain. Yeah, I think that giant was trying to...
Yeah, we have counter knights.
We, as mentioned, there's the knights going, making a counter push.
Yeah.
Bop-a-da-bop. Bop-a-da-bop brings it on back and unsieges the city. That giant is no more, allowing him to now start making the counter push yet again. It looked like Blue was actually out of this game.
Blue's making a strong comeback with that siege. He's not going to be able to unsiege unless he giant pushes. And it looks like he does have the giant push. And it looks like the cloak will be landing this turn as well.
One more turn.
That's a lot of stars.
No,
there's the bridge!
Wow.
It's the bridge!
Bridge, yeah.
Bridge.
Beautiful.
However, Blue does have the knights, which is a complete counter to those cloaks. So it's going to be a while before another cloak is going to be able to actually make a big impact. But that does prevent the economy of Blue for a turn, giving Cyan a little bit more breathing room. How did this game turn around so quickly? Those giants putting up a big, massive wall. And as mentioned before, this is 4 cities right over here, all able to apply pressure to this one.
Oh, and Blue getting, again, a siege on Lily. That is a very weak city, being so far isolated from everything else across water as well. So if he's able to take that city, if he's able to siege that city, it's going to be really difficult for our regular IMO here to take it back.
Yep, we've got scouts coming in from Blue. Natural counters then going to be followed up with those rammers. Does Cyan have it? We actually have water presence coming in from both players, but both of them are still opting to focus purely on the land.
Cyan getting another siege here, and he's throwing in defenders to block Blue. And that knight on siege is not comfortable because he can't train any other unit, and it only takes one knight to re-siege it, and that is not a trade he wants to be making.
And there we go. That's a swordsman applying the siege. Swordsman's absolutely too strong for those knights to one-shot. Is he going to be able to unsiege? Or is So out of here and going to be part of Cyan's empire? And we have a cloak again right there in the central city.
A little bit too aggressive. It does get sniped.
Yeah.
I think here was
he gets the city.
Yeah, here was the first misplay of the game, I think, where we have Blue IMO not destroying every building. When you have Chivalry, you get the destroy building option.
Yeah, you're absolutely
not destroying
right.
that monument and letting him actually make stars off the city is really crucial. It's really nice for regular IMO here, but very painful for blue IMO.
That is
And
another
here he takes the
inland
second city.
Those giants finally making their way to the front. Being able to defend so-so and getting more naval presence here on the east. Unless something happens here. That's a nice chain. Getting the catapults in the back.
The rest
And GG's,
of their defense, and just their opponent just crumbles. And that is the game.
That was a beautiful game of rock, paper, scissors. I'm going to be building catapults because you're getting swordsmen. Well, since you're getting catapults, I'm getting knights. Well, yeah. I'm going to get knights to help counter your knights and work my way around to your back line. Well, I'm going to go ahead and continue to use my swordsmen in order to secure these sieges. And now there's nothing you could do because I've killed off your catapults. What a beautiful game right over there, seeing the absolute circle of importance of units. And it's not about spamming one, but it's about how you're being able to use each of these units. Even the giants performing a very important part of just being a wall.
Yeah,
that was a beautiful game.
Transitioning from different. Yeah, this is a good lesson of Polytopia. So you can't stick to just one or two techs. You have to immediately go to something else if you see that you can't really do any progress with those techs that you have.
Also, it's showing the versatility of IMO. If we were any other tribes, those techs would not have come out anywhere near as fast. It's because of philosophy of that discount, that they had so much flexibility in choosing to go math and then chivalry and then smithery and having these options to transition so quickly.
Yep.
What a beautiful game.
Great game. Yeah, great game. This
is why I love Polytopia. Alrighty. Next one, we're going to be... All right, I know I'm going to say this because I'm looking between the two. This is just so that way I can make Gato a little bit nervous. But the next one we're opening up is Anva versus Vorce.
Yeah, there's a two of them. Yeah.
Apparently, oh my goodness.
Yeah, and I think there's a third one.
Spoilers.
So, a lot of Anva and Vorce.
Alrighty, right over here, we're going to be jumping into game 3. Anva playing as Cyan and Vorce playing as Lime, or we can just say green, whichever one makes you all happier. Once again, this time, both players actually immediately have that water access.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I'm not the best, but this you kind of start usually tells me, yes, I'm going to be rushing philosophy. Now, the other start that the other players had, it was more of a gamble, but it seemed to pay off for both of them being able to immediately rush all the text that they needed.
Is it lakes again?
It is once again going to be lakes. I think every single... Oh, this one's continents.
Continents, yeah.
So unlike the lesson from last game, you don't have 2 guaranteed adjacent cities. So we'll see how this works for both of them. But since neither of them are on the same continent, or at least they shouldn't be, they have all the time to go philosophy.
Yep. Let's start.
Ooh, Cyan actually getting lucky and getting 2 adjacent villages. So he's going to be having an early production and technological advantage, whereas Lime has to work his way around the mountains. A typical thing that IMO has to deal with in a lot of their games. One thing I'm always looking out for is, especially on continents, where's the river? It was an accidental inclusion when it came to continents, but you'll constantly be able to find 2 continents adjacent to each other and a good place to build a bridge.
Yeah, it looks like they also opt for different starts, with one of them going for philosophy, while another of them goes straight into hunting and forestry.
Yeah, so it's the first game we don't see philosophy on both sides.
Ooh, lots of mines. Every single mountain there had a mine in it.
That's so many. That's so much metal. The unfortunate thing is they're all right next to each other, so you can't use it. Whereas Lime, if they pick up mining, look at that. A spot great for 3. And for the extra greedy, a market spot right over here. That's usually my weakness, is I typically play a little bit too greedily, but these players know what they're doing. They have a good understanding about when they should be opting for, and Cyan finds the first extra continent of the game.
And they finally go philosophy after capturing all these cities.
such an expensive investment, but it should pay off in the long run, allowing them not to fall too far behind, especially when the naval wars come into play.
And now we see Lime getting their first giant of the game. And are they going to pop a second? No, they're going to border growth and take all that water access away from regular IMO here. It looks like
it also secures the bridge.
Oh, yes, you're right.
Because
there's only 2 cities that regular IMO has water access from. And that's also true for Lime IMO here, but their port spots are just a lot clearer and a lot more central.
Because otherwise the teal IMO could have stolen the bridge spots, with the border growth, right?
That's correct. Right overhead of Silicio, if they did a border growth here, there's no bridge available for Lime, making it to where their only access is going to be through water, and that gives Teal a very easy way to declare their win path, which is if I keep you off the water and give you no bridge access, the game is over. After that, it's just a point of how long, not who's going to win. It's just when do I win.
So do you think the regular IMO will be able to secure this second continent?
Well, they got the first foothold on it.
Mm-hmm.
But it's going to be a fight.
With this Juggernaut coming in, it's not going to be as easy as he wants it to be to get the other 2 cities. Oh, and we see the first bomber. And normally this spot is so frontline. It is so threatening. But because Lime IMO does not have an easy way to access it, it is actually completely safe for the time being.
Lime picking up the lighthouse in the west, making it to where if somehow they can get the one on the north, they can get the Eye of God. Unlikely on a map like this, but hey, the possibility is still there. All they need to do is pick up this back village here, and then the Eye of God is theirs.
And I see a first wall of this stream, I think.
Yeah, absolutely.
This wall and this giant into the city was a brilliant play by regular IMO. They had the foresight to kind of know that their opponent might be throwing a Juggernaut right into my city to try to do some sneaky plays. Maybe they're not hope that their opponent isn't expecting the attack. But by putting the giant into the city and being able to just hit that Juggernaut without taking any retaliation damage, he punishes opponent so heavily for moving in without vision.
Look at that. Is he going to be able to do a giant push? There it is. Defends with pushing the giant off. Also being able to sneak the rammer in, and that bomber is gone. That is a total of 17 stars. Poof. Gone. That is a very expensive loss right there. Oh, right over here. Definitely got to keep our eyes as more giants are popping out for both players. Right here, the fight in the west going to be happening. Right for this back city, because if I was Lime, I would be fighting tooth and nail trying to make sure I'm the one that's getting it. Heck, I would definitely be throwing a rammer in.
Ooh, just they like got an Explorer.
They got it anyways!
All the way north.
Wow, nice play.
And they do get that rammer you're talking about, and they take that city.
Another bomber.
Another bomber by Teal.
Yeah, it's a very aggressive bomber position, but we've seen in the past, it does take a while to clear it out.
Oh, man. I mean, it's not the end of the world.
A Mindbender.
A sneaky Mindbender right over there.
Mindbender. They can push this Mindbender north. But it gets stopped right in its track with a bridge and swordsman snipe. That is a very expensive siege with the city producing at least 5 or 6 stars and the Mindbender costing another 5 stars.
A beautiful play, throwing the Juggernaut in for the splash damage to secure the kill with the rammer. Another 17 stars gone for Teal. Right over here, we actually are seeing a big naval. We're going to do a pause just to look at it really fast. The naval between both players, we have a whole bunch of scouts versus rammers and Juggernauts. Unfortunately, this is really an advantage for the Lime player as all those rammers typically one-shot scouts. Scouts are great at dealing with bombers, but not so great about dealing with the other two.
Yeah, but if our regular IMO here can get Juggernauts set up on the front line, their scouts can really trade pretty well into rammers. Because if you can't reach something, melee units aren't going to do much for you. But we got to see if he can set up a strong front line. He does get strategy here. Or sorry, that's Lime IMO goes for strategy here to kind of start producing stronger naval units.
That's going to be a siege on Keefe, and unfortunately, that is going to do it for the game. Teal's going to throw in the towel. So if we take a look about why, this Juggernaut's going to go ahead and just move in a little bit. This one secures the kill on this one right over here and makes it to where all of these scouts are essentially dead in another turn or two.
Yeah, let's maybe go a bit and see how that happened, because it was quite a surprise that...
Yep, so all these scouts are having to do what unfortunately they have to, which is retreat all the way back around, doing what they can to kill off all of these rammers. Has to get this unit onto the water. Rammers are one of the best units against Juggernauts, as they can defend very well and do a lot of damage.
Oh, and I think just opting not to train a unit there, not to train a defender, really hurt him, since that city is walled. If he just trains a defender, it's going to be almost impenetrable.
Oh, okay, so they get sailing and then okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
No defender.
I was wondering where from this swordsman came, because it was like they were too far away. So yeah, okay. So they turned. Yeah.
Spending 5 stars to end the game sounds like a good trade to me.
Mm-hmm.
So unfortunately, you didn't get to see much with the Mindbender, and that port spot that I was telling about is so expensive, so important for the bridge. Yeah, I opted for the port anyway. So
yeah,
if you wanted to use that port to kill the bomber, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, that port spot was essential for killing off those bombers very early on. And if those bombers did get to stay, these 2 cities definitely would have been locked down. So Lime made a good play about leaving this, grabbing the spot for its adaptability, and then using it as needed be.
So what would you say went wrong for the regular IMO here? Because it was pretty even for most of the time, and then something changed, and they essentially lost, because even if the siege did not happen, probably...
One important thing to look at is, at this point, while Lime has a slightly more populated navy, both of them are roughly equal, or have equal presence onto the water. At this point, even though he's trying to secure this continent, you should be trying to establish a stronger navy, especially if you have that vision that your opponent, which he does, has multiple of these Juggernauts on the water. And as mentioned before, scouts, not so great against Juggernauts. You've got to invest in those rammers. So both of these rafts probably should consider turning into those rammers, start whittling down these Juggernauts, so that way, hopefully, he can get a better trade with his Juggernauts and establish that naval superiority. Because Lime might be able to rush and win this village here, but if you're able to secure the navy here in the south, like so... Because look at that. He just put all of these units onto the water, onto the lake, which means that is 2 less units on the water. So now you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 units in your vision versus your, technically, I'm just going to call it as 1, 2, because these are cut off by the city of Tepaiso. What do you think about it?
Yeah, I feel like in the east side of the map, they're kind of both holding their own, lots of back and forth. I wouldn't say either of them were significantly disadvantaged through these trades, right? Like, even though they got some bomber kills, regular IMO was getting some sieges, they got that Mindbender snipe, but over in the west, they just couldn't hold it, because in the west, if you could scroll over to the west, that city was constantly under pressure. He was forced to wall it, he lost Quito, he lost Sipiti, and if you look at that city, it's just, there's 4 cities surrounding it of the enemies, and only 2 cities that you can use to kind of defend it. And over time, because there's less water access, because the city is so isolated, without being able to support those backline support cities, it's just too good of a target to attack. And if he loses that city, he's basically confined to one continent, just not a good position. So recognizing the vulnerabilities of that city and sneaking around, dedicating 10 stars, going ramming, going scouts to make sure that that last city is secured was a brilliant play by the opponent, and really ensured that this city, PT, would eventually be theirs.
So was actually going bombers for the regular IMO was a good idea, because most of them died and they essentially did not get any kind of value with the bombers.
Yep. So this bomber right over here, it's on the river. It can be sniped by archers. It can be sniped by a good bridge right over here. And as we also saw, our opponent can just start throwing rafts in. So this raft right over here turns into a rammer, and it also going to get hit by rammers, as well as maybe a scout. There are so many different ways. This bomber is just way too exposed. And not only did he lose the 17 stars right over there in that kind of trade, but he does it again. Right over here on turn 17, trains up another bomber, and immediately that bomber starts to get punished.
Yeah, I feel like it was a... Oh, sorry. You can.
Meanwhile, that bomber, both of those bombers really didn't accomplish much. This one right over here.
My point.
Kills off a raft. Cool. 2 stars. Next turn after that, it pings down the veteran swordsman, so that way he can set up a potential siege. And then that's the end of that bomber. So it got 2 stars worth out of it for 17. Whereas, once again, right over here, this one kills off, boom, 2 more stars. And then another couple turns later, hits this giant, and then that is the end of the bomber. So he ended up spending 34 stars and removed 4 stars of his opponent.
Yeah, I feel like
a trade.
It was a good concept, right? Like, that spot almost seems safe as long as he can secure, like, it's only honestly about like 2 tiles. If he can just secure like 2 tiles with either a juggernaut or a giant, like maybe if he had a giant on the monument tile or on that Vorce tile next to the monument, he could have really locked down that juggernaut and been in a very dominant position, locking down like both those cities. But I think he was a little bit too impatient with it, came out a little bit too early, and he played a little bit too aggressive with his giant in not letting it defend that juggernaut, which ultimately led it to being
even if he did not place those bridges, so actually pushing to the east wasn't very successful. So just like keeping this those 2 cities in range, I think it would have been a better idea, like you said, Cloud, just putting a giant there to protect it. But on the other hand, Green also had bombers, so
they both went navigation for the starfish and things like that. But we didn't see bombers from Green.
All the way here.
Not even one.
Not a single bomber. But yeah, so if he ended up spending those 15 stars investing in just more production of Navy, he probably could have had more of a presence on the water. That's pretty much the best feedback I can give, is sometimes just rushing that bomber, maybe it can get out a win, but that one was way too exposed. There's all these water tiles here, land tiles for archers. Just again, it's way too vulnerable.
Yes.
Alrighty, so that was the game of Anva versus Vorce. On to the next game. It's going to be Vorce versus Anva.
Yeah.
Right over here, let's go ahead and get this fixed. Oops, I need to turn on that shared fog. My apologies. All right, as always, going to be taking a look at the 2. Both of them, of course, still have their guaranteed animals to start off with. And there's our rivers. So is this a continents game again? It is another continents game. So there's your river right over here. One player has the river. One player has the ocean. Now, I don't play enough continents.
Yeah, both of them technically do have access to water in their capital. Just one of them has a little bit more enticing, having those 2 fish and being an upgrade option as well.
Yeah,
just a quick interruption. I wanted to remind you about the the poll. So far, IMO is winning 64 to 36% for Tolly. So the audience doesn't agree with you, gentlemen. So with me, yes, as well. So yeah, so go ahead, cast your votes if you want Tolly to win. Anyone out there? Yeah,
I want Tolly to win. Hold on, let me grab my 3 subscribers and have them vote. Okay, so.
Yes, put a message on your server.
Oh, I actually already did. They a lot of my people have already tuned in.
Okay,
so if you're here from my channel, feel free to say hi. Because we're all here for the awesome Polytopia content. So I don't play enough continents. I was playing continents all the time when it was in production, and in the end, I think I still ended up opting to just prefer lakes. That's just a personal preference. But when it comes to continents, what would you be preferring? Would you be preferring to have a river spawn or an ocean spawn?
I feel like I'm almost tempted to say river spawn, just because when you're spawning on the river, you almost always have access to another continent. And with continents, if you can like take over 2 continents somehow, or maybe just like sneak some units onto your opponent's continent and snag a city, it can give you a pretty significant advantage. Whereas like ocean spawns are nice because sometimes they mean that your units can't be sniped as easily. With like archers, you have more water space to kind of position them. But most of the time, I feel like if you have the option to wage the battle on land and gain an advantage on land, that tends to be more easily done than like an advantage on the water, because it's just a lot more expensive. So if I can take my fight to you on land and I have the option to do that, I'm gonna do that.
Now, would you be trying to take the opportunity to pick up early fishing, guide your explorer in the correct direction, and take an explorer to try to find your opponent early on in your capital? Or are you still always going to be going with a more safer monument?
Yeah, I think I'm definitely going with the safer monument. I don't. The map is too big for me to really go for the fishing in capital. It's just too risky for me. I know some players are okay with like the more risky route, but I think for me in the capital, like not getting that first workshop is going to delay me so much. If I don't find my opponent, if I don't get good vision from it, it's like a death sentence immediately.
Alrighty, so without further ado, let's get started on the game. One person does have immediate access to, well, I say immediate, there's a mountain there, so it trolled them. But they do have access to a very early lighthouse for free population. We have teal versus red, both of them opting to try to find their villages. And, ooh, they're both going to have to do a little bit of extra exploring. We got hunting coming out from red and philosophy coming out from teal. So immediately 2 different openers between both of our players.
Oh, and a veteran swordsman.
Also, those who are curious, Anva is going to be red and Vorce is going to be your teal player. Oh, such a beautiful fishing spot at Kiso. Getting an explorer. Come on. And Lady Luck is smiling. Able to find out everything that teal is up to.
Yes, early vision. Very important.
And we have our first player moving into the water. It's going to be our red IMO here.
Do you think it's going to be bridges or naval this time? I see 2 bridge spots already.
I feel like we should be able to see both. With how like we have a player already on the water, so definitely going to see some naval. And with that bridge shot being right at the capital, like that is so tempting to either like sneak a knight through or get a giant across really quickly. I feel like we'll probably see some bridge play, or hopefully see some bridge play.
What's teal vision? Could you switch to so we could see the?
Alrighty, we're gonna go and switch over to that teal vision.
Now they are blind for the moment.
Oh yeah, they're completely blind. They don't know anything what their opponent's up to.
They don't know, but they do know that there's a bridge spot right over here. thanks to the shallow water available on this coastal tile, there has to be water on this tile right here that Teal is looking at to go, okay, is that a potential bridge play? Or because of these resources over here, is there a village maybe off in the corner? We'll be finding that out in a little bit. But I would be nervous putting a bridge right here next to my capital. Not going to lie. The issue we are facing is this is the only water access.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
Whereas Anva, who's currently in the process of, I think, using another explorer, is able to see very well that there's resources here. So there might be a village here, even though we know that the village is actually on this tile here. But there might be a village on this tile here. So I would be looking at that with this warrior, landing it to see if I can snipe it real fast. It's definitely going to be interesting between two. Do you want me to leave the fog on?
Yeah, let's leave it this time.
Hey, getting up that lighthouse. And there it goes.
Land it, just like you said.
Lands it and finds out there is a village, just not where they were hoping.
And here we have the first giant coming out and another giant following right after. So both players have their first giant. Oh, and they go ahead and get another giant with a port. A little bit expensive, but cheaper than going into forestry.
Look at all that starfish available for red. Oh, man. With philosophy just around the corner, I am absolutely considering navigation right over there.
Now, regular IMO instead doubles down, goes for land superiority by both forestry and smithery, really going to pump out those giants here. And he border growths finally for some better water access. Let's see if it helps him, if he has some way of getting into the water. That giant finally lands on that village. We see red opts not to take it because they know they can't hold it, and it would just increase their tech costs for a turn.
I'm fully aware that there's, the border growth happens so there's more naval access, but already seeing a scout just going from point A to point B, picking up ruins. I don't know. I think I'd be trying to make a push for the land and say, look, you stay off the water. Let's make a fight on the land. Because if you want to go water, it's going to be expensive for you. But I'm going to go the cheaper route and stay here on land and threaten your cities down here. Plus, Cyan does win the race for one city on the opponent's continent. That even secures...
Yeah, that's going to be big.
They definitely should be focusing on land.
Navy. Okay.
Oh, so, wow. Look at that city. So many fish.
Okay, another explorer.
Getting another explorer. I'm really getting all that juicy vision.
Yep.
I was about to say, it's going to be really hard for red to attack with this river being the only access, but this giant's already inland, already causing a siege.
Yeah.
This definitely is a battle that's going to be focusing a lot more. I would be predicting this to be focusing on land. Now, I could be wrong. But everything on this game is screaming, hey, it's a land battle. You got swordsmen, you've got riders, soon to be hopefully roads and bridges. And yeah, there's the road play.
Yep.
Swordsman.
Yeah, but I think the red is setting up for a bomber there in this central city.
Oh, and he takes a border growth. Oh, that makes the attack so much harder. Stunts the roads, stunts the movement, stunts any knights or any future play for that. That's going to be a really difficult city to take.
Swordsman causing havoc, though, because swordsmen one-shot archers, but archers are out of the range of swordsmen. It really comes down to that micromanagement. Despite saying that it's a game of rock, paper, scissors, archers and swordsmen are a very interesting story, especially once roads come into play. Look at the size of that navy from red. That potential right there. So many potential bombers. if Red can hold off this land siege and get enough bombers set up, they should be able to secure this game in their favor.
Yeah, last turn we saw that Teal actually could have gone for a Mindbender to prevent that giant from advancing, but they opt for the more expensive method of holding the city with catapults and just deciding to unsiege regularly and get their own giant. Or I guess not unsiege regularly, to prevent the siege entirely. I think a Mindbender play would have been fun to see, but this works just as well.
Oh, I definitely would have loved to have seen that Mindbender, but that causes Red to play a little bit more passively, and now this giant has to backtrack instead of already being in a good defensive position. Oh, he does get a free kill in the process. Never mind, I lied.
Oh, and he opts to attack. Anyways, he does not have vision on the catapult, does not know that his giant is in for a beating. And we see the first bomber.
There's the first bomber from Red. Just a couple more spaces forward, and there's not much that Teal's going to be able to do about that. The only real answer is going to have to really make this land push work a lot more in their favor. There's the bridge! Bridge, got a catapult, being able to secure this entire river for themselves. They're really got to focus on this internal city all the way over here at Kafipi. As with all this ocean access, Kalido is very well defended by the bomber, by scouts.
There's the first knight. Oh, now the catapult knight.
Oh, this knight's going to be huge. Oh, never mind. He's going to opt to go for a slower play, but that's fine. Yeah, there's not a massive chain available yet. Maybe next turn. Another 2 more knights. He's really
trying to break through here on land. He knows that he has no chance on water. There's just nothing he can do.
Okay, Red
he can break through on land.
But the knight is very far back in the back.
Yeah.
A double siege with both giants.
As a triple siege now is very aggressive play here, but this is kind of what he has to go for. If he can't make anything happen now, he's not going to be able to make anything happen later on.
That's one. That's another bomber. Bop-a-da-bop. Pings. And that's an unsiege. But he's going to have to let the city of Katiki go, which means that Red no longer has... Oh, the night chain! 6, 7... 7 night chain, absolutely devastating all of Red's forces. Another siege on Kafipi that can be unsieged. And that's the game. Another double siege in Katiki. Wow.
Kakiku is going to be taken this turn. But yeah, going all in, having those giants being killed seemed terrible, but it actually leads to this position where the huge chain is available and completely turns the game around. Even though he had to sacrifice 2 giants for it, it's very well worth it. Left the giant in a very vulnerable position.
5, 6, 7.
Into the
beautiful
promotion.
7 chain should close out that game. Doesn't even promote it.
Oh, you're right. He doesn't promote it. There's no units in range that he sees it.
The knight does not
the knight is safe. Does not need to promote.
How much health did this giant have? The one that was killed, actually.
Also
14 health at the start.
Yeah.
So it was deceptively safe. It seemed like he needed to clear this giant and also still be able to damage this giant as well to be able to clear it. But with how little naval presence they had the entire game, maybe their opponent forgot about it, or I think they actually needed the giant to unsiege the first one actually.
Okay, so what went wrong here for Red? Because most of the game we I think thought it's going their way. They had better vision, almost better everything, and something did not click for them.
I don't think I could really say anything majorly went wrong with Red. It kind of just came down to that singular night chain. So if they had just like spaced out maybe even just 1 or 2 units to prevent the night chain from being so big, I think they would have been in a completely fine position. As long as they can unsiege. Because if they didn't lose that night chain, and they still have the means to unsiege their cities. So for me, it was really just that last mistake that really turned it around completely.
Yeah, I think I'm in agreement. I don't think anything really went. Red really did anything wrong. A lot of this was just textbook on how to follow up and deal with all of these current positions, because Teal was doing a really fantastic job applying a lot of pressure on Red. So it's more of really just extremely well played on Teal's part than a misplay on Red's part.
Mm-hmm.
Archers were being picked up in order to start getting ready to fight for the river. It's just, the real question is could have anything have been done differently once the knight came into view right here on turn 19? Now, if I'm Red in this position, I already know that unfortunately I got to pull back. I need to start investing a lot more in defending the city over here. Unfortunately, just there's no position here that makes that easy for us to accomplish. The best thing I would be opting for is getting this raft here so I could defend the city of Katiki so no actual siege can hold. So I always have land access. And eventually, which is what Red did, is get knights of their own in order to try to make a counter push. So really everything went right except for the defense of Katiki letting off a little bit too much pressure from Teal, allowing Teal to define the course of the game, which is I need it on land. What about you, Cloud? Do you have an opinion on where the game could have gone?
Yeah, I think I agree with that. It was just that one chain. I think I don't know if this would have really worked well, but if they had the chance to maybe like border growth Kalito, or maybe even just plant a forest along the edges of Kalito, it would have really prevented those knights from coming in.
Yeah.
But we already border growth the North City. Those forests and those mountains prevent the knight from creeping too far. If we just get spiritualism and plant that forest, or even just border growth that, it would.
I think border growth was much cheaper.
That night. Yeah,
I think I'm in full agreement as well.
Yeah, and so like we have a second game where the bombers actually got beaten. Maybe they were not as useless as in the previous game, but here the knights were kind of not a good answer to the knights from the other side, because they
I think maybe like catapult
anything
or something would have been nice.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because catapults allow you to kind of stay further back when you're defending, and archers mean you have to stay within 2 tiles. Catapults mean you can stay within 3, and just that better range means you can kind of space them out a little bit more efficiently as well, and you don't need as many of them.
Yeah, because the knights did nothing actually for Red, so they so like going chivalry wasn't the right answer, the way I see it.
I see. So I was looking over here, 59 stars, going, where did all these stars go away on turn 20? It was when they were picking up the chivalry of their own to make a counter push. I don't know. I think you're right about the mathematics might have been a cheaper and better option than picking up knights, because this is a lot of giants, and knights are a little expensive to throw at giants. They already had I guess they already had archers, so.
But also for math, it would have allowed them to pump out, like, I'm seeing at least 2 more giants. If they go into like smithery as well, it could be more.
I think I agree on that. Or heck, if they picked up smithery, they could have done a border growth and potentially just had another giant here.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, maybe smithery was the right play.
Still, we have to be kind of honest that it's those guys are playing with time pressure, so it's not that you can like think for 24 hours what's my next best move. So we have to be mindful of that. So they did a good job anyway. So our viewers have to be have that in mind, that it's not so easy to be playing on the clock.
Absolutely.
Yeah, totally.
Right over here, especially since we're on turn 20 at this point. The game's been going on for maybe about 30 or 40, 45 minutes at this point, depending. So it's already been going on for a while, and if they were playing more games prior to that, yeah, they may actually already be dealing with some form of a mental fatigue. Because I'm looking at that, and I'm actually thinking that the third analysis, just smithery to do a border growth, but also potentially get a giant here, or heck, even just to get a giant, probably would have been a lot better.
Yep.
I don't know. That was a very fantastic game.
We have one more, right?
We have one more land. So this one is Faust versus, is it Chraken or Kraken?
It's
Kraken, Kraken. Because it's like Chris. Kraken. It's Chris, and he's on the Kraken team, so it's just Chris and Kraken.
Yeah.
All right. So we're gonna be having Quetzali Green versus IMO Teal. Right over here, we have Joyful Sausage, who is Faust. He's going to be playing as player 1, the home player, and our player 2 is Chris Kraken.
And it looks like we're back onto lakes with this interesting map generation.
Yeah.
Ooh. So right over here, I mean, maps sort of telling. Maybe got a village here, maybe got a village here, another village here. Probably another one here, here. It's kind of hard to tell, but that's what I'd be looking at for your early expansions. All right, so any other thoughts? We got a lot of extra animals over here. It's going to be harder to place that early monument, at least in the capital, without any form of chopping.
Yeah, I'm seeing you probably just have to place it in the water there.
Probably. But you can place a bridge there. Alrighty. Onwards we go. So we're going to go ahead and splitting up between the two locations. And with that,
1, 2 villages.
Both players starting off with philosophy. Both of them feeling like they're going to be able to play a more passive game. So that philosophy start for both.
They actually both make the exact same tech choices. Philosophy into hunting.
Yeah, with IMO having those 2 guaranteed animals in their capital, that's a pretty natural tech path for IMO, unless you have a good amount of fruit split among everywhere, or even better yet.
Oh, and right here, this climbing play, I gotta say, I'm loving this. That climbing play, first off, it gives them the meat, then it gives them the lighthouse, and it lets them expand. So that tech not only didn't do one thing, didn't do 2 things, it did 3 things for them at once.
Very beautiful. Right there. And of course, having the unintended side effect of being able to pick up this ruin also in the mountains.
Ooh, but the explorer, he went the other way.
There is so much water all the way over here on the east.
Yeah, that's
aggressive copying for a giant.
Yeah.
Giants right out there on turn 7. IMO being able to rush those out pretty effectively.
So I guess this map looks ideal for you, Toby, because you tend to complain that there's sometimes the lake maps are like just one lake instead of lakes. So here you have plenty of lakes.
I do enjoy my river lake maps where you have multiple bodies of water. You have a single land mass between the two. This is, in my opinion, an ideal lakes map of what it should be. I don't want a single lake. If I wanted that, I'd play Waterworld.
Or a lake map.
Early catapults.
Oh, yeah, he's saying that this city's going to be difficult to defend, and he's sending up those catapults to instantly shut down that giant if he gets sieged.
And, I mean, I hate to be that person to constantly be screaming out one word over and over and over again, but we got an excellent bridge location here. To be able to apply pressure on this city. If Green can get their roads fast enough, they can secure that bridge and make it a lot harder for Teal to defend it.
And again, getting another catapult, really using these units to shut down and play aggressively into regular IMO here. They do get another siege, and they can bounce onto that village. But these catapults are really starting to be a problem with these choke points being so difficult to get around.
And unfortunately, with all of that, I don't know. The green in me really wants to kill that catapult and siege it if I was in Teal's position. Couple more roads? Heck, you could still do that.
Mm.
I don't think he had vision yet. Oh no, he did have vision because he was on that tile. Yeah.
Please. Oh. I don't know. This is probably hindsight 20. There it is. There's the siege.
He gets the siege.
And unfortunately, there's nothing that the Greens could be able to do in order to unsiege that. Oh, never mind. A massive chop and road play. Look at that. Manages to pull off a defense. I thought that city was a goner. I was actually already counting the chickens before they hatched.
Not with Chris.
A beautiful defense. This game is now turned into a 6 versus 5 city game. So Teal still does have the advantage, but it's going to come down to how well did they do.
Pushing everything in right now so that they can't shut out his. So one of the catapults is going to get hit this turn if he goes for a scout or a rammer or something. Let's see what he decides to do.
Oh, it would be pretty greedy to rush in with a rammer. Oh, and unfortunately,
and he runs into a veteran swordsman.
That is
going to be very painful.
It's not what you want to see at all.
Nope.
Swordsman
can instead of
10 damage out.
Yeah. Instead of killing it, he actually retreats the catapult, though. He now knows that they're on the water. Getting a big border growth here. Looks like they could be setting up some nice trade spots here with all those sawmills.
Do you think we'll see markets?
I think, knowing Chris, I think we're definitely going to see markets. He's like the big market guy. Like in all the Polyseums, whenever we see markets, I'm always like, is that you, Chris? Is that you?
Yeah, Justini's been pushing me to play markets at a lot more of my games, which definitely has led to.
By the way, today we have a lot of YouTubers also. Yeah, Justini that you mentioned join us, and Mr. Blueberry Cheesecake. So a YouTube evening today.
Yeah.
Swordsman.
Yeah, there we go. There is
markets.
Trade coming out from Chris.
It's gonna be a lot hard. Oh, trade for both. Right on cue. Turn 17, turn 18. I was expecting that green was going to be starting to have an economic advantage, but instead, it's really going to go down to the micromanagement of the two. Oh, I'm just looking at this potential knight chain. Where are the knights? Look at all these riders.
Yeah, it's really all clumped together at the moment. But he's also being very careful to keep them like in the back line, like behind this giant. Even though it looks like there's a massive knight chain, if the knight isn't trained in a central city, it's not going to be able to reach anything.
And there's the bridge, Toby. 2 bridges.
I am so happy with this. We have our bridges coming on out and a knight getting ready to try to just rush in and get a chain in there.
Both of them going for knights now. And smithery, wow, knights.
There's the rider. Knight chain, 1 chain, 2 chain, 3 chain, 4 chain into a veteran bonus, dealing tons of damage to the deep high giant. It's gonna be hard to see.
And there's another siege, so he's going in heavy this turn, getting 2 sieges. One of them is cleared very easily, but the other is going to be a more difficult clear as a full health giant on the city. They're moving some units around, and it looks like instead of unsieging, they're just going to pop a giant.
Mm.
If it wasn't for this giant, they could have built a road right here and been able to chain these catapults down, as they have a knight of their own right here in the back. The siege continues, and more knights coming in from the green player.
All these riders they stored up here have finally serve the purpose. They do go ahead and all come in and make the unsiege happen. After which they clear everything out,
1
and
chain,
they do go for
3,
that
4 chain, 5 chain, 6 chain, 7 chain, 8 chain, 9 chain, 10 chain.
Devastating 10-unit
bonus.
chain into a veteran promotion. Unfortunately,
Oh,
they
that's
do
fair.
give up
4
this
chain,
massive
5
chain
chain,
right back in
6
return.
chain. Oh man, night chain after night chain. I'd still think that Teal had a better trade advantage with that, losing 3 catapults, 4 knights, and multiple riders. Oh my goodness. At this point, it comes down to the micromanagement of the two. Which one's going to have the better control of their units? The final
And we see a
position-
Mindbender right there, setting up for a Mindbender push.
Oh, is it going to happen?
Unfortunately,
No.
it pushes in the wrong direction here,
no.
and that is when the green player decides to call it.
That
So,
was
for those
a
who don't know,
misplay.
push direction always pushes in center first. In this case, I believe that is west. But the
gonna be
west tile is
right
water,
here.
so it can't push there. It goes counterclockwise first, which means it is going to go onto that. Yep, that tile Toby has selected right now. That is blocked, and it goes the other direction, clockwise, onto the gate of power. But he's missing just one more block on that sawmill before it'll push north. If he had moved that warrior there, it would have pushed north and given him the Mindbender Giant.
So do you think the game would continue if Chris got this giant?
I think Chris had the intention of continuing the game if he got that giant, because all of a sudden he would have gotten 2 giants on the front line, and he's able to now get some. He's able to now get knights and other things on the front line, but without that giant being his, he's now instead giving up 2 knights and a Mindbender, which is a pretty valuable chain, and he just doesn't think that there's much. It's just a difficult spot to be in after that.
Yeah, I fully agree with that. That's if that mind control was able to happen, I definitely do see the game continuing on at least for a few turns longer.
Okay, so let's hear from you. What do you think happened here? Why Chris actually lost? What happened?
Well, it was a very tricky position to be in. They both ended up focusing very much onto the land, but Green was absolutely giving up the potential of setting up a navy and his own bombers right over here on the western side. Because if with these giants here, if he managed to also give him an archery bonus for some defense, he definitely could have set up a position to apply a lot more pressure to Depai right over here and slowly try to kill off these giants. So this water was being ignored, but to be fair, it is a river water, so especially with knights in play, it's going to be hard to keep anything there. Other bits that needed to happen, these giants were being way too defensive, and he needed to find a way to deal with those. So that one's going to be a lot trickier position, but he had the right idea. He just needed to keep throwing knights after knights to finally take care of them until he puts in too much pressure to either take Kipi or Depai, because he actually was putting on a lot of pressure and keeping this game even despite being 1 city behind. But maybe Cloud has better insights on what could have been done to help turn this game around.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think missing that bridge play, I don't know if he missed it or if he was just expecting his giant to be able to stay alive, but that very major chain definitely hurt him a lot. I'm also wondering if maybe he should have trained a few less catapults, just so he could space his units out a little bit better. He does go into a lot of these border growths, well, I guess just one, to kind of like establish the ability to go into the water, which he never really does. I do think that going into the water is a little bit expensive, and I do think that there was still room for a counterplay should he have gotten that mind bend at the end. I think more of it came down to just not wanting to continue after that failed Mindbender push.
Yeah, probably just the biggest misplay was not respecting the potential night chain and was expecting that, hey, my opponent can't siege over here. 'Cause even if we look at their vision, turning off the shared fog,
No, they had all
definitely knew that the resources were there to kill this giant off and get a potential bridge, because there's roads, so bridges are available. This is potential bridge spots here. It's just being a little too greedy with all these catapults. They definitely needed to space out.
Yeah, so I agree here with Cloud that they, like Chris, overcommitted to catapults, because they were kind of threatening, but also not doing that much because of Faust having those riders which were like out of catapults range. So they were quite defensive, so to speak. Because of the river, the Chris couldn't really make a like a really big push with the catapults. So maybe like 3-4 less would have done better for him, or maybe going sailing or something. I don't see a one type solution here. Yeah, but overall a great game. We saw markets, and they like worked well for both of them. So good choice, I think.
Very well played on both parts. Despite the map definitely being an advantage for Cyan with the +1 city, but I would definitely say this is a middle city, so it's really a city to fight for. So
yeah, we did see that Cyan actually skipped that north city all the way in the early to mid game in order to kind of expand to these other two cities first. Like he gained vision on it, but he decided to kind of go all the way for these other two center cities in order to kind of establish more map control before coming back for this north city here. So really good foresight by regular IMO here. Really good foresight by Faust.
Yeah, or even getting a border growth in this Nini would cut Faust off.
Oh yeah, the border growth in Nini would have been really big.
All the Chris forces, and then maybe the capital play would stick, but yeah, this way no. Yeah, so again, you have to be careful with how you set up your armies, especially in this like kind of very cramped spaces. So remember to space them out if you see knights, otherwise you might get chained. Yeah, so that's all for today. I hope you had a good time. Yeah, I'll change the vision. Any last words about this game?
Just a very fun game. We got to see markets, knights, some brilliant knight chains.
I don't know. Just this knight chain is just beautiful to watch. It's because it's not even just a simple. You have to do setup for it too, man. It's so beautiful.
He actually had like the exact number of units needed, exact number of riders to get that clear. He needed to take out that warrior. He needed to kill the giant. If he had one less rider, that chain would not have gone through.
So maybe one last question. Do you think that he intentionally went for this Dini city, or maybe something else?
I mean, that was the only city really available for the chain, but that then means that
I don't know
have to be put here. So
I don't know how much vision he had exactly, but I think he was just following the chain. If he had vision, I think he probably
I thought he could have.
Oh yeah, so he didn't know exactly what he was getting himself into perfectly, but the chain ended up working out very, very well.
Being in the fog.
Yeah, I think I'm kind of in agreement here that he's probably going in to at least kill and there's a unit, so he knows he can circle around. That's the capital. No, these capitals are more juicy.
But this could have been
extra one.
Could you go back a bit? Yeah, a bit more and more. Oh, okay. Yeah, so he I know this at this time at this point he knows he can go around. Okay, because I thought he kind of gambled, going left this time, so on Nini, instead of going directly to change those catapults.
Yeah, I think the moment that he killed this unit,
Yeah.
that's when he went, oh, there's a warrior here. That's when he went, I guess I'm going to also kill these units. I'm assuming he had the full intention just to kill off all these catapults.
Yeah. By the way, Ram Dingler, another YouTuber, joined us. Hi, Ram.
How's it going, Ram?
Okie doke, great game. I think we had a lot of action this time. The games were pretty full of emotion and they're like going back and forth. So I hope you commentators and our audience had a good time. So we'll be wrapping up here. Any last thoughts on IMO?
Yeah, I think we definitely got to see the versatility of IMO here and how it can really branch the tech tree in multiple directions. I think definitely a lot of fun gameplay with this tribe.
Because without philosophy, like you mentioned at the beginning, it's not that easy to kind of transition to like all those different texts, because then they are like really expensive and it's not a easy thing to do.
Yeah.
Okay, so thank you for commenting, Toby and CLOUDGLIDDER. It was a pleasure as always to have you on the stream. Thank you everyone for watching. Next month we'll have another summary of the Polysseum games. So be sure to join us next month and see you on the next one. Good night.
Take care, everybody.